So this is the continuation of C Sharp chapter 2, video 1. So in this session, we are starting with like loops in C Sharp. So the first point is for loop. So for the most common type of loop in C Sharp in the for is the for loop. The basic structure of the for loop is exactly the same in Java CPP or in the other language, right? So the syntax of for loop is like for, then assignment operators, then condition, and then incremental and decremental operator. So there's let's see the syntax in action. Uh, so we are using the same application which we used previously for the chapter number 2. So the syntax of for loop is like uh, so as I said, like integer declaration. First point is like declaration of variable. So integer I equal to 1. Then second is like condition. So here I have taken like I is less than 10, and then I plus plus, that is incremental or decremental section. So and there is body. So inside body you can do the operation whatever we want to do. So basically it will when we will run it, so it will first assign the value, then it will check the condition for first time, and it will go to the body's part, and from the next time it will go to the incremental decremental section, and it will check the condition. So it will iterate until the condition get false. Okay, so this is how the for loop works. Then the second syntax is like mm, uh, let's see the second syntax which we have. So there are different kind of syntax we can use into the C sharp. So the first one they have given like for, then semicolon and semicolon. So there is no declaration into this. So let's see this in action. So we can define for loop without having any kind of declaration or any conditions or any incremental decremental operator, right? So this is called continue for loop. So it never stops, right? So let's see this in action. So it will continuously run until we break that for loop, right? So you can see that it is continuously running. So this is why it is called continuous for loop. So you can continue this for loop by putting some condition. So let's say for let's define one variable like integer new val equal to 1. So I am putting condition like if new val is less than 3, less than or equal to 3, then break it. So this way you can break this for loop, but that condition it should increase or change the value of new val. So here I am increasing the value for each iteration into the for loop. So here you can see that now the new value is 2. So it will check the condition. If it is less than 3, then it will break the condition, right? Let's say greater than 3. Means the requirement is like it should be breaked if the value goes beyond the 3, right? So it will print 3 values, and at third it will like break the condition. So this is how we can break that continuous for loop. The next is like we can have a like only condition and only incremental or decremental section. So it this it is mean that the declaration will be outside the for loop, right? So let's see this in action. So I am not defining a condition. I am not defining variable, but I am directly putting the condition like new val is less than equal to 10. So this way also you can uh, use the for loop syntax. Okay, so this is also other way. So and in other way you can like put only define definition section, and no, do not declare the like what we can say conditional section, right? You can define only uh, incremental or a decremental section. So this way also you can define the for loop. So these are different syntax we can use. So we'll just go through all of this. Let's move to next. Then the next point is do while loop, right? So that is where there is very frequently asked question in the interview. What is different between do while loop and while loop? So before going through the do while, we will go through while loop. So let's see a while loop in action. So it is same work like means for loop does. Only the difference is what in while loop we define only condition in the round bracket, and the incremental or decremental section we define in the body. So the syntax will be like while then round in condition, okay, and the incremental or decremental section is defined in inside the body, right? This way, and the variable declaration is defined outside the body before while loop anywhere, right? So this is only the syntax difference in do while loop, right? While loop and for loop. Ganesh, be on the line for some time. I got a one call. Let me handle this.
Okay.
So it works, does the same work the for loop does, right? So only the syntax different. Only the syntax is different, right? Okay, next is do while loop. So the syntax of do while loop is like do, then the body section, okay, and then while. So this is the syntax of do while loop.
While loop.
So the difference between while loop and do while loop is like in the do while loop, at least the condition execute once, even the condition is false or true. So in do while, it checks condition after the body execution, right? So in while loop में क्या होता है कि it will check the condition first and then it will execute the body. But in do while it will execute the body first and then it will check the condition. मतलब यहाँ पे क्या होगा? At least body will execute at least once in the do while loop, right?
Hmm.
मतलब यहाँ पे मतलब एक बार तो body execute होंगी ही होंगी, right? Even it is true or false. So that is the difference between while loop and do while loop. Okay. So let's see this in action. तो do while में क्या होगा? It will, what we can say, it will like execute the body first, right? And then it will check the condition. So यहाँ पे मतलब अगर condition false भी है तो एक बार ये body execute होनी ही होनी है, right?
Hmm.
But नीचे के केस में क्या है कि it will check condition first and then it will execute the body. अब यहाँ पे new value की value क्या 5 थी, तो इसलिए ये condition direct false हो गई and it directly came to the below line, right? अभी आगे for example मैं 5 कर देता हूँ.
Hmm.
यहाँ पे क्या condition false है? Let's say 6 for understanding. Like 6 is less than 5 false, right?
Hmm.
But still it will like execute this condition. मतलब यहाँ पे वो print करेगा उसको, right?
Hmm.
Even it is false actually, but still it is executing this, right? But नीचे के केस में ऐसा नहीं होगा. If it is false, it will not execute the body. So that is the difference between do while and while loop. Okay, so we have already gone through these things. Okay, so the next point is array declaration. So we have a like separate chapter on the array on the array and array collection. And in this we have already gone through like what is an array, then what are the different types of array. So
Okay.
यहाँ पे हम लोग सिर्फ basic idea लेंगे कि array क्या है और how we can work on the array. So let's start with an array declaration. So an array is a collection of values of similar data types. C# arrays are reference type. Each array in the C# an object and is inherited from the system.array class. Arrays are declared as, so the syntax of array is like data type, then square bracket, then your identifier means variable name equal to new, then again your data type and size. So
Type.
this is the syntax of array. So here is the syntax, integer, then your round bracket, sorry, square bracket, then variable name equal to new int, and then the size of an array. एक मिनट हाँ. So this is the syntax of an array. So let's see an array in action. So the syntax of an array is like int, then your square bracket, then variable name, arr equal to new, int and size. So as we have seen, an array is a reference type. So we can use like we have to use new keyword to create an object of the class of the array, right?
Hmm.
So so this is how we can define an array. Now, if we have to add values into the array, so what we can do, we can simply say like your variable name and then square bracket and index of the value, right?
Hmm.
So I am assigning like zero index of 10 value of zero index. So basically this array has gotten capacity to store 10 values. So let's see this in action. So here the array variable object is null. So now create an object. So now it is having an object array object of 10, right? So we can define 10 values or store 10 values into that array. So you can see that the default value of 0 is already assigned to each index, right? So this is the index and this is the value. So index always start with 0 in array. So now we are assigning like 10 value to 0 index. So now it is 0 here. So let's assign it. So now you can see that the 10 value is assigned to the array, right?
Hmm.
So this is how
Yes.
we can assign the value. So let's assign some more values like for 5 index 50, I would say. For 9 index 90, right? So this is how we can assign the value. Now how we can like read the value from array. So simply we can define like for loop for integer. Let's use this value. Let's put it here.
Hmm.
Integer I equal to 0. Index start with 0. That's why we have to always use 0, right? So new
Hmm.
we can use this syntax also like and a new val is less than or less than 10, then new val
Hmm.
plus plus, right? So this way we can like iterate an array using for loop. So here arr of I. So that not I actually new val. It should be new val, right? Not to string. So this way we can iterate array in the C sharp. So just like pass the index to that array. So this is how we can print it. So let's see this in action. So this is how it will print array, right? So this is our array
Hmm.
values 10, 50, and 90, right? There are some other ways also we can define like array. So let's see this in action. Simply while defining an array, at the same time we can assign the values also. So this is the syntax of defining an array by initializing some values, right? So in that case, we don't have to need to like provide the size of an array because it is automatically assigned the number of value you passed while declaring the array. So this is also other way we can define the array, right?
Hmm.
So you can see that an array is defined with some fixed values, right?
So,
Also we can like define an array and initialize an array separately, right? For example, I will define array here equal to null, then as per the requirement I will create an object, right? Equal to means
hmm.
we can say initialization of an array uh, as per our requirement after in the next iteration, right? Means here I have defined an array and here I have created an object of that array, right? So this way also we can define an object of the array, right? So next point is like for each loop. So basically, for each loop is used to iterate the collection of any kind of array or any kind of collection in the C sharp. So there is another type of loops in the is the that is very simple and useful to iterate through arrays and collection. This is the for each loop. The basic structure of for each loop is like for each, then your data type. Okay, your data type of element, then your variable name and your collection. So this is the basic syntax of for each loop. So let's see this in action. For each, then as I said, data type. So I will say integer, then variable declaration val in arr1. ओके सो यहाँ पे मैंने क्या किया, एक इंटीजर वेरिएबल डिक्लेयर किया है और यहाँ पे मैंने कलेक्शन पास किया. अब यहाँ पे इंटीजर क्यों डिफाइन किया, बिकॉज दैट एरे इज कलेक्टिंग इंटीजर वैल्यू, दैट्स व्हाई, राइट. तो यहाँ पे जो भी कलेक्शन में डिफाइंड है वो टाइप का वेरिएबल आपको यहाँ पे डिफाइन करना है. देन योर वेरिएबल नेम, दैट इज योर फॉर ईच वेरिएबल नेम, एंड देन इनके बाद आपको कलेक्शन पास करना है. सो दिस इज द सिंटैक्स ऑफ फॉर ईच लूप. So it will directly iterate the value one by one and print it, right. तो यहाँ पे हमें इंडेक्स पास करने की जरूरत नहीं है. So it, the val variable itself will have a value from this collection. तो ये फॉरवर्ड ओनली वर्क कर होता है, राइट, फॉरवर्ड ओनली मोड में. ओके, syntax error, we are getting some syntax error, right. Okay, so this way we can print array using for each loop. Okay, so you can see that it is directly iterating values from array, right.
Hmm.
So this is the basic syntax of for each loop. We can use it. So there are some important points. You people can go through all of this. Okay. Okay. So the chapter number 2 is done. So there is one more point which should have been completed in the chapter number 2, and we missed it. So let's finish this point. So let's see this point first. So very first we saw that there are the two types of data type in C sharp. One is value type. It is also called like implicit data type and struct. And enumerations are the example of value type. There is other type is that is called object or delegate. That is called reference type. So in let's continue and finish with these topics. So let's see what is value type and what is reference type. Let's see this in action. Okay, so let's see what is value type. So the value type variable can be assigned a value directly. So in value type, the variables value are directly assigned to variable only. Okay, so they are derived from the class system dot value type. The value types directly contain data, means variable actual contains the data in the value type. When you declare an integer type, the system allocates memory to store the value. So when we define like integer or any float value or any double value, so system allocates some memory to that that variable to store the value, right. And the value type variable are stored in the stack. So examples of the value type are like integer, character, float. Okay, so these are some like numbers, alphabets, floating points number respectively, right. Then second point is like reference type. So it refers to a memory location. So basically, as I said, in value type, variable directly stored in the variable, right. And and in reference type, the variables refers to the memory location. Using multiple variables, the reference types can refer to the memory location, right. So in value type, we will have a one variable and it will have a its separate memory. But in reference type, we can have a like multiple variable which are referring to the single memory location. Okay. If the data in the memory location is changed by one of the variable, the other variable automatically reflects this changes in the value. मतलब यहाँ पे value type में क्या होगा, एक variable होगा which will एक variable होगा which will share one memory location और एक other variable होगा which will also sharing the same memory location. So यहाँ पे क्या होगा कि अगर memory location पे अगर value change हो गई तो it will change the both variables value. So that is the main difference between value type and reference type. Okay. So the next point is like reference type variable are stored in the heap. As we have seen, value type are stored in the stack. So reference type variables are stored in the heap. And the example of reference type are like object, dynamic, and string, right? So the basically you must have understood कि value type में क्या होता है. Each variable has their own memory and it is containing variable value directly into the variable. A reference type में क्या होगा, there will be a multiple variable which could have been like sharing the single memory. So because of this क्या हो सकता है कि अगर memory location पे value change हो गई तो it is mean that the variable value also will be changed, right? And the example of value type are like float type, then integer, character, number, alphabet, right? And the example of reference type like types are like object, dynamic, and string. So string is also a reference type. So let's see in action the main difference between value type and reference type. So let's flip to Visual Studio. So here I am defining two methods. So I am defining one method. So private void value and reference type. So here I am defining one variable integer val type var, right? And one array I am defining. Array is object type, right?
mm,
ARR ref type. Okay, so this method is having two parameters. One is integer data type, that is a value type variable, and the other one is array data type, that is reference type variable. Okay, so now what I am doing, I am changing both variable values. So here I am defining like this my value type variable equal to 10, and let's change some values of arrays index, right? So at zero index I am putting 100, at one index I am putting 200, right? So this is how
mm,
I have changed values into the method. So let's call this method into the program. So let's create an object program ppp equal to new program, right? So ppp dot value and reference type into bracket. We have to pass values, right? So let's define some variable here. This the variable can be same or it can be different, right? So let's say 1. So here I have assigned a value to that variable equal to 1, and here I have changed that value to 10, right? Now let's define this array also. So ARR reference type equal to new, or we can directly assign the values to array. We have done it previously, right? So now my this array is having 1 2 value, and here I have changed this to 100 and 200, right? So let's pass this to this method. First variable was my value type and other one was my reference type, array type, right? So here what we have to do, हमें क्या करना है, बस यहाँ पे ये चेक करना है कि यहाँ पे बिफोर पासिंग दिस वैल्यूज टू दिस मेथड, मतलब उसमें क्या वैल्यू था, और उसके बाद आफ्टर पासिंग दिस वैल्यू व्हाट इज द वैल्यू विच affected on the variables, right? So let's run
mm,
this program. Here you can see that integer variable is having one value, right, which is assigned here, and array is having two values in the collection like 1 and 2, which we have just assigned here. Now what we have done, we have passed this both the variables to that method. So here we can see that first is having 1 and the other one is having same values which we have just passed. Now I am changing these values here. So यहाँ पे अभी जो val type variable है इसका value 10 हुआ है, right? और जो एरे इंडेक्स है तो इसमें अभी क्या हुआ है 100 and 200 हुआ राइट. But after coming to the at the point where we like called the method, here you can see that again यहाँ पे इसका जो वैल्यू वो 1 ही है राइट. यहाँ पे 10 हुआ था राइट, बट इट वाज ओनली अवेलेबल इन दिस स्कोप. मतलब ये जो वैल्यू टाइप में क्या है, यहाँ पे हमने क्या किया, सेम वेरिएबल वी हैव पास्ड हियर टू दैट मेथड, बट this variable having their own memory, right? And this variable is having their own memory, that's why its value is not changed. But here you can see that we can see that इसका वैल्यू चेंज हो गया राइट, 100 and 200 हो गया. मतलब यहाँ पे क्या है, ये जो रेफरेंस टाइप वेरिएबल है, ये दोनों वेरिएबल के लिए एक ही मेमोरी असाइन हुई थी डेटाबेस में, मतलब मेमोरी में. तो यहाँ पे क्या हुआ, इसका मेमोरी लोकेशन पे ये वैल्यू चेंज हो गई, इसलिए इसका वैल्यू भी एक्चुअल चेंज हुआ राइट. So this is the main difference between reference type and value type. मतलब reference type are sharing the memory, right? Where value type are not sharing the memory. They are having their own separate memory for each variable, right? So this is the main difference between value type and reference type. So any doubt on this or any question? Okay, so in interview means in the many of the interview this question is asked, and that is very means most important question. So they will ask you like the difference between value type and reference type. So you have to keep this point in the mind, and they may ask you, is the string value type or reference type? The answer is it is reference type, right? Because string is a class in the C sharp, and all classes, all delegates, all object are reference type in C sharp, and all like integer, enumeration, struct, point, number, these all are value type in C sharp. And the value types like store the value in the actual variable, and reference type store the value into the reference memory location and shares the multiple variable, shares the memory, right? So this is the answer of this question. And you have to keep these examples also in the mind. They may ask you to write the program to prove the value type and reference type, right? So this kind of program you can write and you can prove it, how means value type and reference type works. Okay, so we are done with the chapter number 2. So next to this we will start with like chapter number 3.
Okay.